Right. Welcome to episode 6. I think we've passed episode 5. I feel like that was a milestone. But you might notice that Steve is not here today. He's off doing his real job. Second job. His assistant's job to his real job, which is this. And we have a guest, Brian. Also, maybe the second in charge for the kids team, I'd say.
You're flirting now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brian's been helping with the kids team probably since its inception.
I think we pretty much forcibly developed the kids section.
It was
it was a forced takeover. We kind of just assumed the cage, and from then we were like, no, this is ours now.
Yeah.
We've got the kids in. We started with the family class. And it was, we brought our kids. And I actually think the first kids Ben, my son, ever came into interaction with was your Reuben and Steve's Ben.
Yeah.
And then we kind of went, well, they're roughly the same size. We'll supervise them in the cage. And then all of a sudden it kind of came from that. That's my memory of it.
It was, we had a family class on a Saturday morning, always run in the gym. And I guess over the years, I don't really know. I feel like before I had kids and before you turned up and before Steve started bringing his boy, which was all around the same sort of time, there weren't really any kids attending it. There was Phil, one of our senior sort of guys used to bring his daughter a bit, so she was probably one of the main people, and one of the other guys who doesn't train with us, he used to bring his kids a bit, but there weren't really many kids coming. There was one or two. So it was like a family class where you could bring your kids, so it was kind of like that, but it was run like a normal jiu-jitsu class.
Adults rolling around literally within inches of the kids and stuff.
And I remember one session I was there with Reuben. He was probably 3 at this point, so too young, really. In hindsight, too young. And we were doing something. I think it might have been. It was like a back take, where you jump on their back or something, or you pull them back, or it might have just been like a back take from Turtle, where you kind of attack the turtle and roll off to your side. And I remember just he's trying to do it to me, and me rolling and being I'm going to crush you.
Yes.
This is not going to work.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking in my head it's so hard, isn't it, to run a class to cater to adults and kids. It's hard running a class catering for fucking Nova.
Yes,
Peppa Pig.
You are your own main character. You are.
What are you doing?
That's not even the toy we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, come on, girl. Right, I'm going to hold this and you're going to sit there. It's hard running a class for older kids and younger kids, let alone adults and kids. So I get it. But I remember thinking we need to separate off and do something just for the kids. So you can bring your kids to the adult class, but then they're getting their own thing and the adults are getting their own thing and no 100%. One's losing out. And that's kind of just how it...
Yeah, it definitely did. As I said, we definitely hostile took over the cage.
Yeah.
I remember that being a thing. And then as it developed, my first memory of any form of stripes, I think, was Ben and Reuben both got a stripe together on the same day. I think that was both they got their first stripe together. Colin
used to give out the stripe.
Before it kind of transversed. So I've still got the picture and they look so toady. They're so little compared to what they are now. But it was definitely a hostile takeover. And then even from that, it developed because we had kids that then, as you touched on earlier, the size difference came. We started having preteens and 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and the size difference in those kids again made us subdivide it yet again. Yeah. I take what we call now the minnows on a Saturday. I like the minnows. I do a lot of games, a lot of body movement with them. My typical Irish brogue of a booming voice
helps keep them in check.
It controls them. It's not ruled by fear per se, but when you hit that tone of voice and you're looking directly at them, they definitely stand up and they tune in. But
tune in.
That's the thing. Are we listening? Yeah. I do apologise to the adults that do bring their kids to our class, because I'm sure some of your children are walking away with a slight Irish tone about them now. They definitely are. They're becoming very good at it. But yeah, we've got the minnows on a Saturday. This is our main kids' day. We've got so many more in there now too, and we've got the minnows and the pre-teens and and it's divided up so well. I think looking at it as a screenshot from the first hostile takeover of the cage and looking at it now, it's not the same thing. It has evolved so much.
Yeah. At first, it was just a class. where like we just sort of messed around with the kids. We tried to do a bit of technique, but most of it was just sort of messing around and, whatever, sumo wrestling.
And now
stuff.
we've got what, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, 4 days a week, 2 no-gi, 2 gi, like proper training, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just run the classes for the older ones, just like a normal class. Like sometimes we'll chuck in games and things like that, but it's not that different to how I teach the adults, to be fair.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll dumb down like how I'm coaching it, the amount of detail on things.
Mm-hmm.
But now there are some of them who are getting into their sort of mid-teens and they're pretty good. Like they've done the basic stuff. I'm pretty much just teaching it to them as I would the adults, like beginner adults. Like the same kind of like sort of approach.
I can definitely attest to that. So my boy, he started in the minnows with me. There was that transition period of going out into the black mats that look into the cage and every week going, can I come in and play games? Can I come in and play games? But that's died off. He doesn't ask for that now. He is there to roll. He enjoys the role now. Whereas before it was, I don't really want to roll. Can I go in and play games with the minnows? That's really died off now, and it's bittersweet because he doesn't come in and train with me so much anymore. But I'm looking out for the cage, seeing him roll with people, going, "You're rolling now. You're doing it. You're enjoying it. You've come from a kid that I had to break down hip escapes with in 1, 2, 3, 4 to umanari rolling your own favor into takedowns." I'm like, yeah, you've smashed that.
It's sick, isn't it? It's sick seeing him develop.
And Ruben and Ben from Steve and yourself have the same. Ruben is in that transition period.
I feel like they're in that transition period though, like where they're still sort of looking in, like, oh, well, I'll do a couple of rounds. Or sometimes they're like, I want to spar.
Yeah.
And other times they're like, oh, I'll do a couple of rounds and I want to go and play. And it's like, I feel like you just have to let them do that.
Yeah.
Like if you,
100%.
like I just say, do a couple of rounds and then go and play. Yeah. Rather than being like, no, you've got to stay out here. Like it's like, do a couple of rounds, that's fine. Then go and play. And they'll get to that point where the sparring then is fun.
Yeah. Or let them grow the love for it. As it's trying not to make it a chore, and I have that fine line with. I have parents approach me and go, you really need to, he's the type of child or she's the type of child you really need to come down on and be on top of. And I've had to say, well, no, because if I do that all the time, they're going to vilify me for one. And then they're going to say to you at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, I don't want to go to jiu-jitsu because I got told off last week. I coached from my late teens swimming and was able to work through that.
That's right.
I've learned very quickly of how we approach coaching children, that there's times to push and there's times to ease off. You don't want to come down too hard on the ones that are just there learning at their rate. Yeah. But also you need the attention. There's times where you have to go, right, everybody, you need to tune into me. I'm not telling you off directly, but tune into me, this is important. Yeah. And then there's times where you just have one child running around the cage doing their own thing. My child was there himself. He used to do it. There's a few. You can name drop. But that relationship, when they realise and they do start clicking with it, you're not the villain, and you're not the villain in that story. You aren't the one, I go there and Brian always shouts at me and tells me what to do, X, Y, and Z. There is an element of give a bit of slack where you need to give a bit of slack. So you don't want to come down on them too hard, because you could end up with the children that go, I'm never coming back to that, didn't enjoy it. And we don't want that. We, as you've said in previous episodes too, we want to see these little monsters in 20 years time, IBJJF, ADCC. We want to go, I knew them from the day they stepped on the mat. And look where they are now.
Or even if they're not competing, but they're just still training.
Yeah, 100%.
And loving it. And like, that you can see they're just obsessed. Like that's the goal, isn't it?
Definitely. And it's life. I'm speaking of, shout out, I got a fresh cut today from Silky Smooth Barbers on Albert Road.
That's a plug. Sponsor the podcast.
Yes, Andre. I'm looking at you.
Branding on
and Nathan smashed out this slick haircut.
We could do like a 30-second advert.
Oh, definitely.
Splice it in the middle.
Yeah, I think he's the only barber that brawls that I know of in Portsmouth. He brawls. Yeah. He's the only one I know of. Maybe we could do a bit of a call out. If there's any other BJJ barbers out there, we could set up a super fight. Barbers,
that'd be good.
Barbers that brawl.
Yeah.
You know?
I like that.
Slickly lined up.
I like that.
On the mats. We're looking at you, Andre.
I'd be up for it.
I'd be up for it. But we were talking about that this morning, and actually his son, it's just the love of coming to the gym. and wanting to go. Don't necessarily need to be a competition. And that's where I'm at with my boy at the moment. And I'm sure it comes with everybody. He's like, I just want to go to the gym. I want to see my guys, my friends.
That's what you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
At first, it's like they're going. It's kind of they're not sure. Sometimes, like some kids just love it, and that's fine. You don't have to encourage them from day one. They're just like, "What? I get to like beat people up? Like, that's amazing!" Like that's
sign me up.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt after my first lesson. I was like, "This is fucking amazing." But other kids obviously are a bit more like, oh, I'm not sure. Like some of my kids sometimes are like, oh, I can't be asked to go. And I'm like, that's fine. But then it's like, as they're making friends, it's more like, I want to go and see my mates.
Yeah,
like if they know like the Bens are going, they're like, oh, I want to go.
Definitely.
Like so, it's that's what you want, and then that social thing just makes it like a nice place to be.
Yeah.
And then over time, they're just falling in love with the art. Hopefully, maybe they don't, and that's fine. Maybe they don't do it. That's fine. Whatever.
Definitely.
They learn some lessons along the way when they do it. They take that into other endeavors in their life. But you hope that they it just slowly seeps in.
Yeah,
100%.
It's even it follows on even for the likes of myself this week, and you've done it before. Steve's done it before. Big bad Bri dropped Steve there recently on his elbow. We'll address the elephant in the room. But we still come to the mats to hang. We still come to the mats to watch what's going on. We still come to the mats to be around our people.
Yeah, it's a social, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
It's going to the pub.
Yeah, it is, but in such a healthier manner.
Yeah.
I'm no skinny princess. I didn't stop short of a few beef burgers growing up.
Chunky princess.
But I can fairly shift up and down the mat for a big boy. It surprises people.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Cartwheeling over somebody's guard. It's like watching, what's that scene from Free Willy? He sees them go over the top, over the wall. That is me cartwheeling over somebody's guard. You can see the fear in their eye. They're like this. Oh, no.
Yeah, they're not there like, go Willie. They're like, oh my God.
Yeah, but even just coming to the mat, being around your people, being in that environment, like, yeah, I 100%. That's where I want the kids to be, and I'm starting to see that with Ben. Ben actually woke up this morning and went, are we going wrestling? 1-to-1, Dad, we going wrestling? I had to go, no, dude, we've got a really cool seminar tonight.
Yeah. Is he coming to the seminar?
Yeah, he's coming to the seminar, awesome. So I know there's limited amount he's going to get to do. But Cole said kids can go. He could say so. I'd bring Rue. I think it'd be good for Ben, partner-wise.
Well, it's a bit late for him.
No, is it?
Yeah, till 9.
But I can get him mixed in what he can and can't do. So
Yeah.
But that's why he woke up this morning. He's like, Dad, are we going wrestling? And I was like, oh, well, no, we've got a seminar tonight. But a part of me was like, it's my special boy. he's waking me up to be wrestling. Yes, love it. So yeah, those little turns, and I see it in other kids too. It's not just my own. I try not to be super biased against my own son, especially when I'm on the mat. So I'm probably tougher on him on the mats than most kids because he's mine. But yeah, I definitely see it. I've seen it with your kids. I've seen it with Rue. Definitely that little transition to going, I want to go in and roll. No games. I'm going to roll. And I'm like, yeah, get in there. You know what it's about.
It's good, isn't it? It's good.
It is, definitely.
That's why I don't really play any game, because I think sparring is the game. Like in life, 100%. You don't get to just go and rough people up.
No.
And like, so I think, you watch the kickboxing class, they have a dedicated session for sparring once a week.
Yeah.
But in every session they don't spar. So they play a game at the end because it's like a bit of a relaxed sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think, well, sparring is kind of a game.
Oh, 100%.
Like with the little ones, obviously we do more games. Like, so if they're like
we need to keep them engaged. They're young. You're not going to expect them to just sit and do 10 rounds of pull X guard.
Yeah, it's just they can't and they don't really fully understand sparring. So like the intricacies and the variation and the different things that might happen aren't really there. It's just sort of the same thing happens over and over again. So they like to do bulldog and whatever. And,
sumo's been a good one recently.
Fun. Yeah, like the lasso game, jumping over the rope. But I think once they're like 11 and up, it's fun.
Yeah,
like, so
100%.
We don't do it.
Well, you touched on it there. You're talking about the game coming down, roll and letting off that steam. We're allowed to name drop? We good to name drop?
Maybe our own.
Our own names? Haven't named anyone. There's definitely one guy. I emulate him. He's one of the brown belts at our club. His style is very towards what I want to do.
It's an adult.
Oh, it's an adult? Oh, yeah.
Drop his
Che.
name. Yeah,
we love Che.
Sorry.
I emulate Che. 100%. But the only reason Che isn't a serial murderer in my mind is because that guy rolls weekly. He rolls daily. He gets that out of his system. When he's on my back and he's getting those elbows in, he's doing catch wrestling moves and he's flinging me about, I'm like, I'm stopping you going to jail here.
There's
I'm glad
probably a bit of that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's an element.
I wonder.
That pent-up aggression would have to go, so I'm not calling you a serial killer, Che. Please don't take it out on me on the next mat session. Yeah. But I definitely think it keeps a lot of people out of trouble.
And he owns a lot of weapons, so...
He does. He is a man's man.
Yeah.
He is a man's man.
I wonder how many people just deal with their... I mean, everyone deals with their stuff, don't they, by going to jiu-jitsu. But I wonder how that, like, sort of makes some people a safer person to be around.
Oh, 100%.
I don't know, it's a bit of a dark thought.
But it's the same as like I say the same of our man therapy group. We've labelled it man therapy. All we talk about is axes. All we talk about is what happened on jiu-jitsu. And the wives look at it going, "You're clearly griping about me." And I went, I'm really not. We're talking about some jiu-jitsu thing we've watched. When are we going camping? What have the dogs done? That is
funny video of an animal doing something.
100%. That's our offload.
It's just inane. My wife always, and I'm sure everyone can relate to this, is always like, "Oh, you saw, X, Y, and Z. Oh, how are they doing? All this." Like asking like, these really personal questions about things. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. You were with them for 3 hours. What did you talk about? We exchanged 5 words. You know what I mean? But we were just happy to be in the vicinity of each other.
Talking nonsense.
It's so true. When you find those people, you keep them. They are good people. That's just, again, we don't want to get cancelled, but that is just, it's man logic. It is man logic. I am a chatter, but also I could sit in a room and say nothing, but as long as I'm in the vicinity of somebody I like, I'm like, okay, I feel better for that. It's enough. Well, I'm good.
Definitely. Right, we got some questions.
Oh, very good.
I like this one. This is good. How do we deal with overzealous newbies?
Oh.
Matt Enforcer, question mark.
Oh, okay. So newbies as in people that have day one, week one.
I guess people who aren't established in the team, like you don't really know them. Like maybe they're brand new, maybe they've come and they're not necessarily brand new, but like they're maybe being a little bit too rambunctious with some of the white belts or
selective,
smaller people,
maybe selective in who they're picking. And,
selective.
Well, I think everybody that's done jiu-jitsu for any length of time has probably came up against one of these characters. I call it's a him. I wouldn't even know his name. I remember one that came to one of our classes. I call him the Spaniel because he just kept coming back for more. But he was a big unit. He was taller than me. I would say, pretty heavy for my size. I would say he's at least 90 kg.
I think I know who the guy you're talking about. Yeah.
I suplexed him.
Yeah, he's about
I just 100% suplexed him, but he bounced straight back up for more, and I went, oh, okay. We'll go for more. And it did humble him. I think he realised then, but yeah, definitely. When we talk about Matt Enforcers, I think they're needed. I generally think everybody needs their ego checked every now and again. Everybody needs a datum to go off. There's always somebody bigger, stronger, more technical. If you're going to go around and maybe bully people that you're not sure of, if you're new, if you're deliberately picking out the 50 kilogram guys when you're 90 kilograms, that's not right. It's not right. It's not right.
No. I agree. I think there is a need for a set of Matt Enforcers. I think they need to be like higher, or they need to be people who understand how to put the smash on someone
without being dangerous.
Yeah. You don't want to injure people. You don't want to really do bad things to people. But you need to make that person aware that look, you're going around rolling with all these easy people. Like this is what can happen. You need to pick some more difficult roles. You need to pick some people that are your size.
Yeah.
And challenge yourself a bit more.
Definitely.
And sometimes being put in your place by someone smashing you makes you realise, shit, actually I need to I'm not so good. I thought I was good, but actually I was rolling with people half my size or girls or and people who are completely brand new and just smashing them. But actually I need to
But I think not having the knowledge to pull back the throttle. We've all got a throttle that we can go from 0 to 100, give it a percentage. 110 kilograms, 50 kilogram, say, woman on the mat. I can't go 100% on her. It's not ego talking. It's if I slip, if I make a mistake, which I've done on many people by accident, but if I slip and make a mistake and fall on them, I could really do damage. I could hurt them. And I think that plays on to the Matt Enforcer. That Matt Enforcer needs to be very aware of what they're doing. They need to be technically good, strong. They just need to not be dangerous. You can't put the 100-kilogram white belt and go, I'm giving you a responsibility today. You're going to be the mat enforcer. Yeah. You can't do that and go, you're the mat enforcer today, because they might end up really hurting them. Yeah. they might still need mat enforced themselves.
I have actually used a white belt as a mat enforcer once.
Okay.
Young Ronnie. And it was with the same guy that we're talking about.
Yes, I know what you're on about.
The reason I did it wasn't to like enforce. It was just that he was a better role for this guy.
Technical, yeah, Ronnie
so
is.
this guy, the guy we're talking about, who needed mat enforcing, should have been seeking out people like Ronnie.
Yes.
Other fellow white belts, but the same sort of size for a good competitive round.
Yeah.
And I thought this is going to work. This is going to work really nicely because, firstly, the guy's he's going to get beaten by Ronnie. Ronnie will beat him. And so he'll be like, oh, actually, yeah, God, I need to this is a more challenging role, and these are the people I need to roll with. And secondly, it sort of brought Ronnie out of his shell a little bit and gave him a bit of confidence and gave him that oh, actually, yeah, I need to put it on people a bit, because he's quite a gentle sort of guy.
He is. When Ronnie, when he turns it on, there's the white belt mafia.
Yeah,
the white belt.
We got a subculture of white belts trying to sort of I don't know what they're trying to do, but
they've got their own they've got their own page, they've got their own agenda. It wouldn't surprise me if we've got a treasurer and a president. They have their own code of conduct. I've almost infiltrated them through Marcio. Marcio nearly let me in the door.
The good thing about the white belt mafia is, though, that sooner or later some of them are going to get promoted to blue belt.
Oh, I've been told they get dropped straight away.
Yeah.
The moment promotion comes,
so we can just break that up, just destroy their what is it called,
the seniority, their organisation,
group, their OCG, just by promoting a couple of them.
We will strip apart your MO, that's it. And you will no longer be a functioning outfit.
I think, you know what, about mat enforcers, sometimes I'll mat enforce myself.
Oh, okay.
So this is an interesting concept.
Pick a person to check yourself with.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
just
that.
And it might not be someone who's technically better or something, but you know it's someone who's going to give you a really hard round.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe you're knackered or whatever, but you think, you go in, you're like, we're going to have it now.
In that case, I must be mat enforcing myself every week that I go in the cage with Che.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
I'm just checking myself every week.
Lead up to Polaris, doing those Shark Tanks was the worst thing ever.
But that's good from your self-recognition.
So
and I think you probably bring that from your expertise as a PT and as a physical training instructor, that okay, I need a check here. Let's find where the datum is. Where do I need to improve? Whereas a lot of people wouldn't have that in them to deliberately go out and go against somebody that's absolutely going to maul them to learn.
I got mauled. It was horrible. And everyone in there had really good gas tanks, technically very sound, and they just mauled me.
Yeah.
They just absolutely mauled. And there was none of them were good. None of them I came away going yeah, I did really well in that.
Yeah.
Everyone I came away being oh my God, that was the worst thing ever.
We've such a variation of specialists in the club too. We have we've got some absolute guard specialists. We've got some half guard ninjas, guys that go away and train in other clubs as well.
These were just gas tank machines.
You've got Mike Pring, absolute takedown master.
Yeah.
And he smiles at you while he hurts you.
Yeah.
He takes a little bit of joy in it.
One.
But we have so many specialists within the club that you can go,
seek people out.
I'm weak here, I need to seek them out because they're going to highlight this.
If you want a round being smashed on your feet, go with Mike and he'll just smash you up.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can seek those people out. And I feel like occasionally you need to reflect and think, yeah, I've probably been taking easy rounds for a couple of sessions or whatever. I've been seeking out my mates who I like rolling with because I know it's fun, but I know if I turn it up and kind of beat them. Yeah. And then you're like, right, I know that guy who I always avoid eye contact with him. He's my guy tonight. Sometimes I'll be like, Diogo, coming in. Let's go.
You're quite literally touching on my issue at the moment, though. I get that because I tend to go to the daytime classes and X, Y, and Z. I don't get access to the evening classes the same. And the evening classes are where the predators lie.
That's it.
That is where you're in the savannah and the predators are there. You've got your very good purple belts and blue belts, brown belts, black belts. I do the daytime classes, so I'd be lucky if I get a handful of purple belts and blue belts. And don't get me wrong, they always seek me out. They're very good, but it's always the same faces. So you fall into a rhythm of going, okay, my jiu-jitsu is forming to their jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's not having that variation that it needs. And you get people just look at you pacing around the cage going, no, I don't want that heat. I don't
intimidating. Strike an intimidating.
It's not designed to be intimidating. The cage is softer.
Yeah,
when my 110 kg gets thrown in that cage, it doesn't hurt as much when I get thrown outside.
This is not how it seems. Imagine the scene. You're like day one white belt, and you're the only one who hasn't been partnered up, and you're looking around thinking, "Oh, I haven't got a partner." You look over to a cage, which is intimidating on its own.
The Ulster
and you've got
Ursa.
This big guy in like tiny little shorts, pacing around, just looking out, pacing side to side. And you're, oh yeah, I'll go with that guy.
I'm only heavy breathing because I'm gassed. It's not because I'm psyched. I've had a roll with Rich, and he's been tangled around me for the past 4 minutes. But yeah, it's the anti-enforcement is please come in, please roll with me.
I think sometimes that's good as an enforcer though, someone who's very unassuming.
Yeah, definitely.
Like we've had a few enforcers who are just like terrifying to look at.
Yep.
And then we've had some who are like very unassuming, and you think, "Oh, I'm gonna smash this guy," and then they just smash you. And
wrap you up. Yeah, I think that's happened. I think that's happened recently. I think somebody caught the eye of somebody a bit unassuming and didn't realise the spec and the talent they have.
Yeah.
Smashed them.
It's always fun.
It was fun. It was fun.
But yeah, I would, as an instructor, I would still sometimes mat enforce people, and then maybe I'd talk to them afterwards and be like, you need to dial it down a little bit, like, and just whatever they're doing wrong, just sort of like have a little word and let them know that actually, because it's complicated, isn't it? Like, it's not like, and you think, like, well, all right, I'm here to like grapple, like I'm here to fight, like, and it's like, but like you've got to, sometimes you have to talk to people and you say, look, you're doing really well because you're just smashing everyone with your physicality, but you're not actually getting any better at jiu-jitsu.
100%.
Like, so actually, like, although you are in your head winning every round, you're not actually doing the right thing for your development. So slow it down, get more technical, engage in the battles, get into someone's half guard. Don't just chuck their legs out the way and pass. Like, learn how to pass the half guard, learn how to do all these like technical things. And then you can add that physicality back in and you're going to be an absolute monster.
Yeah. Combine the worlds on that.
That's the key.
Yeah, no, I've witnessed that with yourself and being on one side of it and the other, and I think it's definitely approached the right way because we're never out to embarrass anybody, but we're also trying to maintain safety on the mat too, and the environment just encourages. How many people have we seen go full circle that have come in as a really aggressive, like white belt day one, week one, hands flailing everywhere? And you're 4 years down the line, you're looking at a 4-stripe blue belt, purple belt who is super technical. And you're like, that's a full turnaround, and they're still there. And it's a really, really good one.
And I think like the mat enforcing is like a trial by fire. Like they're either going to like get something out of it and then come out the other end and be okay, or you never see them again. And I feel and. Maybe from a business model perspective, that's not great.
No,
but from like a jiu-jitsu perspective, that this is the you cut the chaff. And some people are gonna you never see them again, and that's fine because it's not for everyone. Actually,
but we're all very similar, and it plays back to what we said earlier about our people, our clan. That's how I see it. They're my friends. They're my people. The people that stay, we're all in the same wavelength.
You
know what I mean? We know that we check our egos. We know that you can't just assume because that person's 50 kilograms, you're going to smash them. We're all in the same wavelength, and cutting off those people that don't make the cut, because it is a cut.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to smash people and then you get ego checked and you have to leave the mats because of that, well, bye-bye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. No. The people that remain, we're all so close. We're all so friendly. We're all there for everybody too.
And those people will probably take that mentality into everything that they do in life and just not do very well in life generally. But some people might come in with that mindset. Then that little bit of change happens through that experience on the mat. And then they come out the other end with more of like a growth mindset.
Yeah.
And then they can take that into other areas of their life. And it's, 100%. That's going to be a really positive change for them, isn't it?
Definitely.
Right, next one. So, mat enforcers, yes, use them. Best sub to beat higher belts.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know if I'm qualified enough for this. I feel I'm maybe.
Yeah, you are. I think, firstly, I'm going to answer the question, but firstly, I'm going to challenge the sort of the mindset around that.
Okay.
And be like, if you're lower belt and you're like asking someone like, what's the best sub? How can I beat the higher belts? It's like, forget about that. Like, don't forget about like beating the higher belts. Just get better at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And that will come in time, but like the goal when you're coming in isn't like, right, I'm going to beat that guy. Like, you know, you can have like fun little rivalries with your partners and things like that, and it's just fun because it's, you know, that's just sort of part of the social thing. And but generally, like, I wouldn't be thinking, right, I need to develop a game plan to beat the higher belts, to beat my peers. Like, I need all these like because it's like, it's not a competition at training.
Yeah.
Like, develop the game plan for your competitions, but training is what it sounds like.
Training,
it's training.
It's 100%.
Just focus on getting better.
Yeah.
And there will be a point where, like, those people that you're trying to beat, there'll be a point where suddenly you'll be like, oh, I'm hanging with them now.
Yeah.
Oh, I caught that guy who I've never submitted and always smashes me. You know, like, I see it all the time. People who I just absolutely smash and just have fun round, rest round, sub them 3 times.
Yeah.
A few years later, you're like, this guy's now really hard to roll against. I'm like not catching him. Like, I'm barely passing his guard. Like, this is hard. Or they're like smashing me, and you think, wow, like, that's really cool to see. You know?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I've just had a bit of self-reflection. That's why I was looking off into the stars. But yeah, you're 100%. If I rewind back to, say, month 1, Bry on the mats at Queen's University Belfast back in 2009, definitely it was sub. Armbar. You know, I was going for arm bars. That was the first move I was ever taught. It was armbar. And that pretty much carried on to quite a lot into the blue belt phase. But thinking about it now, last week I walked away thinking, oh, little victories. I really worked at that pass. Pressure pass. It was slow. It was methodical. I wasn't just hoiking somebody out of the way. I was slow, methodical. I moved my legs to where I needed to be. I got a clean pass. I got the pin. And I moved into a dominant position. That was the win for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't sitting there thinking, oh, I need to sub this person.
Technical development.
The technical development, 100%. And it was the likelihood of me submitting that person was probably quite slim. But the pass was what I wanted. And if you had told me at white belt month 1 again, you'd be like, oh, you're going to be so happy with just doing a methodical pass. You'd be like, no, submissions. It's all about submissions.
Where's the win,
Yeah, where's the win? So I think you're right. When you flip that question on its head about let's challenge that, what's the best submission? A win in my head was just getting that technical pass and doing point for point, which it was pass we learnt together in our 1-to-1s, doing that point for point and walking away from it going, oh, I done that live.
Yeah.
That wasn't given to me. That was live. It worked. Now I can tighten that up. I can sharpen that. So yeah, submissions, not necessarily everything.
No, and I think as you get more and more experience, you understand that more. And, you know, today we were doing some stuff and inspiring, and I was thinking, I just want to get a collar tie and an underhook with good head position. And, like, it didn't matter, like, the rest of the round. I managed to get that, like, 2 or 3 times. But then you're noticing all the mistakes. I'm getting my collar tie. My head position's always out. Okay. Like, and then you come away, you know, I got subbed in that round and didn't get a sub. So technically I lost that round. But I learned that actually I need to get better with my head position during that, like, wrestling engagement.
Yeah.
And then start using that like grip to sort of open up the opportunities. I picked up a single leg and had good head position at one point as well. So all these little things, I'm like, this is what I'm trying to get better.
They're your wins.
They're my wins.
Your
like,
micro
the rest
wins.
of it didn't matter. You know, because we could have that round a million times and, like, you get various different submissions and things like that. But, like, how are you actually improving your jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I do the same sub every time, yes, that is getting better, but, like, there's all these other things that I need to get better at. Why don't I focus on those for a little bit and sort of have some blocks of, like, right, I'm focusing on my wrestling for the next 8 weeks, or I'm going to focus on my sweep or whatever. But, like, all these little details. But I feel like when you're a white belt, it's hard to
it's hard to fathom.
I do get it.
But then the further on into your jiu-jitsu journey, you'll realise that yes, subs are the end. That's the no questions asked. That is, you've won. But when you get to a higher level, say my jiu-jitsu, and it doesn't at the moment, but say my jiu-jitsu matches your level of jiu-jitsu, we are neck and neck. That might not be won in a submission. That might be won in those 2 micro passes that got your points for passing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That opportunity that you got into full mount and got that extra points on top of your opponent. So yeah, I think transformative. Don't look at it as in, it is hard not to, but sub seems to be the beginner's view of it. I think the more senior you get, subs are good, but there's so much more to this. How do I get to that sub? How do I dominate my opponent with better skill?
That being said, to answer the question,
smash.
I think the best submission to beat a higher belt, I've got an idea. Is there anything that's, have you got one?
Being a bigger boy, I think Kimura.
Kimura, okay,
but a like a mounted Kimura, you know, the north-south mount Kimura.
Okay.
That would be one that I tend to get to.
I think a straight footlock.
Yes. Okay.
Now, obviously, everything against a higher belt
David
is
and
going to be
Goliath.
hard to get
Yeah,
into,
I think.
Everything's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And everyone's leg locks are much better now. But like, if you develop a good straight foot lock, like you can just spam them. And if you're like a strong guy, even if you're not big, but you're just strong, like you bridging into that guy, like you don't need a lot of technique to make that really good. And even if you've got good defenses, if you just like get good at like off balancing people and things like that, you can just finish them.
But you can scoot under them. If they're going to stand, I get that a lot. I think, I call that the David and Goliath complex.
Yeah.
You can be 150 kg man mountain, but if somebody can get around your leg and you can't get your weight down on them, that leg's going.
It's a great equalizer,
It is. It completely neutralises their game, and you're pulling them into a game that might not work. For me, instance, leg locks for me, still a bit of an enigma. I'm learning them to try defend them, but I don't necessarily want to be offensive with them. Maybe that'll come on my jiu-jitsu journey, maybe it won't.
I think we're still at a point in development of jiu-jitsu where there are still probably quite a lot of higher belts who would admit that they don't have a really well-developed leg lock game.
Yeah.
I think probably, let's say, in 10 years' time, that is going to be probably not the same.
Yeah.
Because so many white belts are learning leg locks from day one now. Like, whereas when I started, we did learn a straight foot lock, but like hardly.
When did you start? What year did you start?
2012, I think it was.
So I started, I had a massive gap of my training, which all my friends know off with him. But I started in 2009-ish, and it was hilarious. If you dared done a foot lock on anybody in class, you would have been chased off. If you'd done a wrist lock on anybody, it doesn't matter what belt you were, if you were blue, purple. Now, bearing in mind, our coach was a purple belt at the time, and we maybe had a handful of blue belts. No, but his influence was, he was under a proper Brazilian coach, So it was BJJ Revolution, Rodrigo Menderes, who was, it was an affiliate. But if you done an ankle lock, you were chased off. You done a wrist lock, you were chased off. But you look at that now, completely changed.
I think unless you came from like a sort of catch wrestling kind of, that sort of like in the early years, I think unless you had some sort of connection to that kind of lineage, like, or a bit more of an open-minded coach, like, you probably weren't doing that many that many footlocks. And I know when I first started, it was just straight footlocks. And it started like heel hooks and things started seeping about. Like you didn't really learn them that much, and people were still a bit like, we just shut that down. Like that's not real.
Well, it was almost taboo. We had Dean Lister come to our gym, and we were all white belts and blue belts, and he taught us heel hooks that were hidden. He was like, "I'll teach you this heel hook, dude. It's the ref won't see it. You'll get the tap." Okay, but we were like, "This is magic. This is pure voodoo stuff," because we weren't taught it, weren't shown it, and this guy was all over showing us reaps and stuff. We were going, that's the devil's work. Yeah. You're not allowed to do that.
But I think now there are still loads of purple belts, even like, brown belts who they would say, their leg lock game isn't really deep. Do you know what I mean? Like if you put them into like saddle and you're rolling and you're transitioning into like they're getting a bit like whoa, like they're a bit behind in the whole thing. They're not really sure.
I acknowledge it myself. My leg lock game it's very poor. I'm only delving into it now from the sheer defensive point of view. Maybe the offense will come from it, but I recognise that I need to know it. I can't just ignore it, because if somebody gets me in that position, they're going to get the tap all day long. I'm not accepting that. I want to know enough about it that I can defend.
Well, I think at purple belt, this is your chance. Like, you should be developing a breadth of technique.
Yes.
Like, I feel like when you're a purple belt, in that 2-3 years, however long you're going to be a purple belt, you want to be plugging in all the holes. Because when you get to brown belt, you don't want to have glaring holes in your, this is just my opinion, glaring holes in your game. You don't, like, if someone says, like,
you want an answer for everything. It doesn't have to be a good answer.
Some degree. You should have some awareness.
A knowledge of it. If you've got 20 questions, you should have some form of an answer for those 20 questions. You don't want to get to brown belt and be 5 questions short where you're absolutely, I haven't a clue what that is.
Yeah, or like, you're like, I don't really know about saddle.
I would agree with that. Totally.
So I think, but I think at the moment, a straight foot lock
Yeah, I think it's the great equaliser. I would say so.
A good straight footlock is in a bang, and they're back with a vengeance. Like for a long time, when the heel hooks and things like that sort of really picked up, straight footlocks were always seen as a bit like.
Yeah,
maybe not.
I've tapped the white belts. I've tapped the white belts with straight footlocks 100%, and it's my naivety. It's my naivety of wanting to stand strong. Ooh, that is my style. I stand, they get wrapped around the leg, and I've got a beefy leg, and no, I do not. And the white belt mafia have caught me with that.
Yeah, so that is. Don't concentrate on submissions to beat higher belts. Get better at jiu-jitsu. However, use straight footlocks because they're savage.
Jambo.
Right. This is a good one actually, but it's complicated. It's not straightforward. Illegal subs for kids. You could probably put / lower belts, but yeah, for the kids, like, should we be teaching them submissions that are illegal?
Oh, this is where we miss Steve. Shout out to Steve. This is bittersweet. Yeah. I wanted my boys here. We will do a threesome. Steve selfishly had to go to Dubai.
How dare you? Or Abu Dhabi or something like that.
You better watch your next elbow for that.
Maybe he's getting special stem cell treatment.
It could be. That's why he's went to Dubai. He's out there recovering.
Hope so.
But we've talked about this in depth because of our investment with our children in it. It's, do you teach a child the full repertoire of moves? Which this may sound strange to the adults we're talking about here. A guillotine is illegal for a child's match.
Yeah, so for context, and I don't know them all because it's like confusing, and I've asked like questions on like the forums and things, and you're not really getting straight answers.
It seems a grey area, yeah.
Because the guidance on the IBJJF is like, they don't just list out, these are all illegal. Like, they just say like, any cervical lock is illegal.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
Well, you need to. For instance, if a child slaps on a triangle choke from closed guard, they're not allowed to pull the head down.
No, they're not. So
because that's going to put pressure on the neck. You're not allowed to bulldog, which we're massive with our kids.
Yeah.
Mainly because I think if you're bulldogging somebody, you're going to get dropped on your back.
Yeah, like it's not like, okay, if you've got a proper bulldog choke set up, and like that is a legit move. Yeah. But like if you just grab someone in like a headlock from standing, it's shit.
Yeah.
Like,
they're not posturing, they're not aware of where the weight is going. They can just be lifted and dumped.
Yeah. But darces, anacondas, arming guillotines, any sort of
Ezekiel,
guillotine.
You're not allowed Ezekiel's
pressure
illegal.
on the trachea.
Yeah.
So Ezekiel's, like paper cutter chokes.
Omoplatas, shoulder locks.
Omoplatas. Obviously all the foot locks are illegal up until 16.
That definitely adds a bit of context to adults, because some of the adults will be looking at this going, well, yeah, you're a dangerous man if you're teaching kids heel hooks.
Yeah.
It's not. We're talking about moves that you take for granted that are illegal at kids' level.
Yes, yeah.
Like straightforward guillotine. Like, how many times does a child... I actually think I seen my Ben do it the other day, and I don't give him a lot of kudos usually on the mats. I try to be very neutral. But he got somebody in a triangle choke from the closed guard, but instead of pulling on the head, he pulled tighter on his own leg.
Yeah,
and I was really good, that actually really worked. That was a workaround, because us as adults go, I'm going to add a pressure to the head. Choke, tap. He was like, no, I'm not allowed to pull the head. What am I going to do here? He squeezed the leg, and I was like, oh my, fair play to you. That was a workaround. Nicely, But I suppose going back to the question, I teach Ben omoplatas. I teach Ben guillotines. I teach him the counters to these. But before I go to a match, I have to almost have a debriefing to him. His first white belt match he ever went to, he attempted a flying armbar. He flying armbarred somebody.
What a lad.
And the kid, and he walked away going, I didn't know that was illegal. I'm not even sure I knew it was illegal, but it was cool. But even the little boy was like, you're not allowed to jump guard. Yeah, you're not allowed to jump guard. He was like, I'm sorry, got a warning. And lucky he wasn't DQ'd, but he got a warning and he carried on. Still lost. It was his first match. But I've taught him all those moves, but I do have the debrief before competition. Not necessarily on our mats, because we're very good. We stand over the kids and we watch submissions, and if we think it's on and the kid's not tapping, we stop it.
Yeah.
Not everywhere has that oversight and control. We're quite lucky that our space gives us the ability to look down on the kids very well. But yeah, I have to have a full debrief to him. I have to go, right, we're not allowed to do flying arm bars, no omoplatas, no guillotines, no bulldogs.
No heel hooks.
No. Well, he's omoplating, he is uminaring rolling his father now. I'm like, your heel hook game will come, 100%. Yeah. But yeah, I have to give that debrief. But I suppose the question is, am I doing it the right way, or should I not teach him that and wait until he hits 16 and then all of a sudden Pandora's box opens?
I've started, so this week or last week, I can't remember what it was, I started teaching the older ones who are all sort of 13, 14, 12, 13, 14 guillotines for the first time, because the ADCC is coming up, and they can do them.
It's legal in that rule set.
They can do all the sort of front headlock style submissions. So I wasn't sure if any of them would want to do it, but I thought I'm going to teach it to them. We'll do it in a safe way. It was interesting actually teaching it to them because they're smaller and their necks are less thick because they've done less wrestling and weight training and stuff. Their little shoulder complex and the neck's a lot thinner. Like, it presented different challenges because sometimes they were like, they're doing it all right, it's super tight,
but they're not getting any meat in there to complete the choke.
But they weren't getting the tap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you are doing it right, but like, I think it's because the guy's got like a pencil neck.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it presented from a coaching perspective a different challenge. How can we? What's a better variation to get the tap? Like, usually the arm in, I love arm in guillotine.
Yes.
But actually we came to the point where it was like arm across guillotine and just standard guillotine seemed to work better for the kids, to actually get the finish.
It's interesting. But again, we're in a very controlled environment.
There was like 3 pairs.
But we also have, on a Friday night, we have 3 coaches that are standing there. You're not turning around and somebody's got their feet off the mat and somebody's getting their neck completely raped. Understand the safety precautions of it. We don't want to put any undue stress on a child's neck prior to full development X, Y, and Z. But yeah, we're very good that we're on top of our guys and we watch and we don't let them. And the kids are good too. We don't have anybody that stands out that deliberately goes out to damage and hurt. So
no, they're all really good.
But again, that's the question. As soon as they hit 16. Pandora's box is going to open.
They can do straight footlocks.
They can do straight footlocks. They can do guillotines. They can do omoplatas. They're going to be fired in. Some of them, depending on seniority, will go straight in as a white belt. And I pity the new white belts that ever go against them. We let them keep their belt.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it worked really.
But technically, when they go into an adult division or a teen division, from my understanding, they would be a white belt unless they're promoted straight to blue.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, because there is one chap who wants to compete and he's a yellow and white belt, but I don't know if he would, because I don't want to we've looked at this and I don't want to sort of demote people.
Yeah.
Like some gyms would be like, right, I'm going from an adult grading system, you're like a yellow and white belt, I'm going to give you a 4-stripe white belt. And now you're on the adult system.
Yeah, but you're still a white belt.
That's like a demotion in some ways.
It is.
Like, it's not, but it is in a way. I'd prefer to just keep them at that belt level. Like, maybe even promote them to the yellow belt if I wanted to give them promotion, but be like, we're working towards your blue belt, you're just not quite there.
Yeah, I suppose our question is, though, if he does go into is it still considered at 16 juvenile? Is it a juvenile or is it adult?
Yeah.
Can he still wear that yellow belt?
Does
the division change?
To, speak to the.
That would be interesting to look at go on Smooth Comp, for instance, look at all the competitions, and the moment they hit 16, because we've been through the ringer enough now with the kids doing competitions, we know the belt system, we know it doesn't do the sub belts, it is white, grey, yellow, orange and green. It doesn't do grey white, doesn't do grey black. So you could have a child that's just got their grey and white belt and they could be competing against a 4-stripe grey and black belt. Yeah. There is subdivisions, so we know it doesn't do that. But if he does enter a competition, he might not have the option to enter as a yellow belt.
I don't know how it's
he might have to accept being a juvenile white belt.
Yeah, or they say he can't compete until he gets his blue belt. That would be what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So we'll see anyway. If anyone knows.
Yeah, that would be. That's a good question.
If anyone's got some clarification on that, please let us know.
Or how you do it.
Yeah, because that would be useful.
But yeah, I know who you're talking about, and he's a great kid. He's damaged me a few times.
He has. He's damaged me many times.
He created the tickler. So he did. Great kid, great morals. He's been hitting the mats with the adult sessions recently too, and I light up every time I see him because I know he's going to rule somebody. Somebody is going to take him for granted, and you've taught him heel hooks. You were teaching him heel hooks before he was 12.
That's what I'm talking about. That's a lie.
He is. I rolled with him last week, and he just doesn't back down. And that comes from your jiu-jitsu, and I've noticed that there's this weird gentleman's agreement when you do a bit, you tussle, you come back, it's like Beyblades, you tussle, you come back. He counterattacks the way you counterattack. He's like, oh, you're backing out? I'm going to keep coming in.
Yeah.
And I like that about him.
He's quite a good enforcer, actually.
He is, and he's the unassuming enforcer. That's why I rule the day when he comes in no gi and people go, oh, there's a 16-year-old. Ha-ha,
yeah, but he's massive now, though. He's not small.
Yeah, so. He's growing. He's hitting that spurt. So he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's he's on the end that I'm on with Ben, as in I've taught him all these moves, and when you're allowed to, when go goes, you can use them. But imagine somebody on the other spectrum of that. Imagine somebody that has only ever done the by the book moves in jiu-jitsu for their legality, for their age group. All of a sudden they turn 16 and they're against this guy. They're against this guy.
You're behind.
You're behind.
I think the only issue, I think from a development standpoint, yes, so adults who teach them submissions that they're not allowed to do in their competitions, because when they are, they'll be hitting the ground running. Kids, I think, do that as well, but keep a close eye on when they and kind of, let's say, like, because oftentimes you'll get a 14-year-old going with like a 10-year-old. You're like, there's going to be no guillotines now. Do you know what I mean? It's all like legal for what the 10-year-old's allowed to do. That's what you're allowed to do. But like, if you've got like two 14-year-olds going, they're like mates. It's like, yeah, okay, chuck the guillotines in, and obviously we're keeping a close eye on it anyway, so it's not too much of an issue. But that's the way I would kind of approach it, really. Because you want them to hit the ground running when they're allowed to do it.
You don't want them to be at a disadvantage. You never do. You want to prepare them, and it falls into what we were saying about leg locks. Being chased off the mat in 2009 for leg locks, it probably subliminally with me makes leg locks a bit vilified. So that's probably why I don't go near them. It's changing that mentality. Some of the guys, like, we have absolute leg lock ninjas, and I do emulate them. I go, I wish I could do. You're one of them. You teach with the group. I wish I could do what you do. I love it. But yeah, I think you want them to be best prepared. So I wouldn't not be teaching something out. If it's something that is maybe a safety issue, I'd give it extra attention, give an explanation with it. We're quite good. We stop the kids. We go, look, here's why you don't do a bulldog, because it may put pressure on your neck. But as you said earlier, it's shit. And you will probably get injured getting dropped into it. And when we break down guillotines and we break down chokes and stuff that are on the cusp of, as you said, Ezekiel's and stuff that maybe they get locked into and they can't release quickly, we explain that to them. Go, when you commit to this, the reason you can't as a child follow through with this is because of where you're pressuring, or the fact that you can't release straight away in X, Y, and Z.
It's interesting though, isn't it? 'Cause I wonder where these rules come from. Like,
it'll be somebody being injured. So a child will have got injured.
I guess so. But, like, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about how to finish a rear naked choke. This was adults talking about training with adults. And they were saying, like, oh, you need to get the elbow in line with the nose, and then you've got this side and this side applying pressure to the carotid arteries. Great, like, good. But you shouldn't do it with, like, the blade of your wrist against the trachea and finishing like that, because you can injure the other person and, like, damage the trachea.
Is that not the point?
Well,
are we as adults not trying to injure somebody to a point that they can't take it anymore and they
tap? But I asked this question. I think I asked Mike, our senior.
Yes, he is.
He's been training the longest.
He's our daddy.
The mats, really.
I see him. Mike is old. He is my English judo daddy.
Yeah, exactly. The mat dad.
He is the mat dad.
Probably mat granddad.
Yeah, he could be. Oh, we're going to pay for this. We are both going to be Ookies next week.
But
for this.
I asked him about it, and he kind of said, like, and he's actually very safety conscious. But I think he sort of said, like, well, I don't think that's right, because he said, I've never heard in his 40 years grappling or whatever of someone, like, injuring their, like, trachea, getting their trachea crushed. And I was like, yeah, I've never heard of that.
You always tap well before that.
Like, so maybe your throat's a bit sore, gets a bit bruised, whatever. But, like, I've never heard of, like, a catastrophic injury to the trachea. You know, like,
even in the traditional world, which I started in, they do a lot of that, like crushing and pressure points and the real stuff that we just call shitty, not working stuff. You know what I mean? It's going to piss me off. But to just crush a trachea, I've never heard of that. And that seems to be in a lot of syllabuses with moves, like traditional jiu-jitsu. Krav Maga, love a stomp, love a crush, love a twist. They'll probably get around the throat. But I've never even heard of damaging that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if you know of someone who's catastrophically damaged their trachea,
collapsed,
then that'd be really interesting to hear. But I mean, obviously with kids, it's different because they're developing; they're much smaller. Potentially, that could happen. So I'm not sort of trying to, like, poo-poo that. But with the adults, I'm like, I don't know about that.
I'm gonna go back, grow a beard. it really offsets the people of how they put their hand.
That is true, yeah.
I was rolling with somebody, it was longer the other day, but I rolled with somebody and they just couldn't find my chin. It is in there. It's very big. It is in there, but they couldn't find it because the beard was just sensory overload. They didn't know where to grab.
Yeah, having long hair and a long beard like a would be quite protective because people don't want to pull your hair, so they're like...
But they just don't know how to get to the chin. They're like, where is it?
I don't think just grab the hair.
Yeah, that has happened. Yeah. I've had a knee nip it before, and as I've pulled away, it's pulled my beard. I got there. Just because the knees nipped it on the mat.
Hair problem.
It was glorious.
It's not something I have to worry about, really.
Love it.
This is actually the short back and... the long back and side.
The short back and hat.
Yeah, the short top and back.
Yes.
I actually shave in.
Well, this is my midlife crisis. This is all this is.
I like it. I like the headband and everything.
I've been told it's cheaper than a motorbike crash.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for a midlife crisis.
I'm going to dig out most of my family, but most of the men in my family are going bald. So what better way to go home at Christmas and go, look what I can
shove it.
Look what I can grow.
Yeah, nice.
Luscious, long. Now the receding hairline's getting worse. I accept that, really? But it's still long and luscious.
I reckon my hair was like that when I was like...
Oh, I've seen the picture.
13.
And you were ginger. You were proper ginger.
Yeah, I would be still, I guess. Maybe.
Very good. Very good.
Right, look, let's call it a day there. I have got a shit or legit to add on to the end of this, so stay tuned for that. It's a good one. I must have been... 10 people have probably sent it to me. I think I said 50. It's probably a slight exaggeration. But probably 10 people have sent me this one. And it's a good one, actually. And you know what? Like, after filming it, I think I gave it a review, but I'm sort of like questioning it, going like, is that right? So maybe we'll do a part 2 on it. But it's a good one, so stay tuned for that. Big thanks to Bri for filling in today with Steve being absent.
We miss you, Steve.
We do.
I miss you, Steve.
Hopefully he'll be back next week. And thanks for listening. Comment, like, share, comment,
subscribe,
that's the one. All that stuff, do it because it boosts us up and gets more listeners, and then
push
we can
the Instagram, get on there too, your Insta.
Yeah, that's it. Coach Henry Pike, go and follow me, like and subscribe and share and save and all the things that help me. Let's do it. We got shit or legit. This has been sent to me about 50 times and I want to say it's shit, but I've got my most legged friend to come and do it to me, Mr. Buggy Choke, Rich, and we'll see if it works. All right, let's go. I feel like I'm going to go out, so we could say the choke is legit. Let's try it again. But there's not a lot of control over the arms to just smash his face and get out of it. So if we're saying, does the choke work? Yes, it does. But if we're saying, is it legit and is it actually going to work in training? I think it's probably shit. Let's give it another go.
I'll try and top my head this time.